I want to talk about an anime that is near and dear to my heart, Ranma 1/2. I practically grew up on this show. I have binged this show at every big monumental phase of my life. As a kid, during high school, during college, and not even that long ago in my now post-college life. I feel like this anime doesn't get really talked about, nor receive the recognition compared to a lot of the big name 90s anime successors, and I understand. It wasn't really aired on TV, at least not to the extent that shows like Dragon Ball Z, Yu Hakusho, Tenchi Muyo, and Rurouni Kenshin, nor did it receive any airtime in the US from my understanding. And it really isn't an anime that is appropriate enough to appeal to a wide demographic, nor is there a real overarching story with a proper ending, which I'll get into later. But it is without question that Ranma left a footprint in its time and has become an incredibly influential property. It was one of the first anime in history to be fully released in English with a faithful uncut dub. Let's discuss Ranma 1/2. Ranma 1/2 is an anime that aired from April 15th, 1989 to September 25th, 1992, that lasted 7 seasons and spawned 11 OVAs. It is based off the manga published in Shonen Sunday from 1987 to 1996, written by Rumiko Takahashi, the brainchild behind Inuyasha, her much more well-known piece of work. Originally conceived to be a serious story driven solely by everything martial arts, she ended up scrapping all of that and changed it to a harem rom-com. The series spawned an anime adaptation, OVAs, movies, video games, and a live-action film. The show's name, Ranma 1/2, comes from its titular character. The 1/2 stems from Ranma's curse, being both male and female. The male and female counterparts have different personas despite being the same person. Ranma is not a whole, rather two different people in one body, hence the 1/2. I'll be upfront about this, there really isn't much of a story in Ranma, or let me rephrase this, there isn't an overall arcing plot with story beats. Think of Ranma as more of a sitcom really, non-sequential episodes, aside from the first and second season that mainly focuses on introducing main characters and establishing a setting. Not much really happens after that. This is an episodic series, a turn your brain off kind of show, one where you can jump from episode 57 to 107, and more than likely, you haven't missed any crucial details. The premise of Ranma 1/2 revolves around the Jusenkyo Springs, a rigorous training area that is surrounded by several different bodies of water. A curse is sprung upon the person if fallen into the spring. Each spring has a different curse depending on what drowned in it. During a training journey across China, both Ranma and his father fall in and is cursed. Ranma fell into the cursed spring of drowned girl and turns into a girl whenever he's splashed with cold water, and is changed back into a boy when splashed with warm water. His father Genma falls into cursed spring of drowned panda, where you guessed it, turns into a panda when splashed with cold water and vice versa. Later on, we get to meet the characters that have fallen into the several other cursed springs, like the cursed spring of drowned duck, drowned cat, drowned pig, and drowned frog. Alongside this curse, the real plot, if you can call it that, revolves around Genma's promise with his friend and trainee Suin Tendo. Ranma is to marry one of the 3 Tendo daughters and inherit the Tendo Anything Goes martial arts dojo. Turns out to be Akane Tendo, one of the first major tsunderes in anime. She constantly bickers with Ranma, smacks him around all the time, and has a huge temper problem. And you probably guessed it, they do not get along at all.
Ugh, that's right! I forgot! We're not engaged anymore! I hate you! I hate you! I hate you! So what if I sleep with a pig? Go away, you stupid jerk! I hate you! I hate you! Leave me and Nichan alone!
For the rest of the anime, it's like a general slice of life, but cranked to the extreme with action and comedic chaos, mixed in along with the multiple harem fiascos, comprised of several love triangles and various romantic pursuers from Ranma, Akane, and female Ranma, also known as the pigtailed girl. Ranma's real goal is to remove his curse, but along the way is constantly getting to challenges by many fighters with really crazy forms of martial arts. The battles can range from typical shonen brawls to the really bizarre one-times, such as the ice skating episode or the fine dining contests. Due to its episodic nature, the show doesn't take itself too seriously and very little progression occurs, despite the flaws in its story, and just really comfy to watch. In fact, I find myself laughing most of the time. The humor is never forced, and it's timeless. There will be some misses here and there, more in the later seasons, but overall, each episode is quite fun and never takes itself seriously. The characters stay the same throughout the series, and not much development happens. Ranma 1/2 has a huge cast of very likable characters, with all of their own quirks and differing personalities. Ranma, Moose, and Ryoga, the most skilled fighters of the show, are personally my favorites. When these 3 are all on screen at the same time, you'll be laughing every second. The chemistry between all three is comedy gold. Ryoga having the poorest sense of direction and always getting lost. Moose is completely blind without his glasses and always mistakes Shampoo as everyone else but her, despite having blue hair. And hot-headed Ranma that just pushes their buttons. Again, to reiterate, most of the characters have very specific quirks that make them unique. An early example in the series involves Dr. Tofu. It is pretty clear that he is in love with Kasumi, the eldest Tendo sister. As a doctor, he is quite intelligent and is pretty rational, offering reasonable solutions. But as soon as Kasumi comes around, he turns into a total moron. Haposai, Genma and Suen's grand martial arts master and founder of the Anything Goes martial arts, has an undying love for panties and bras. Nabiki, the middle-aged Tendo sister, is greedy and extremely manipulative and will do anything to make yen. They're all hilarious, charming, and unusual in their own right. Let's talk about the harem aspect of Ranma. Ranma is driven on this notion. Many, and I mean many, of the episodes are centered around this plot device. For Ranma, his main love interests are, well, Akane of course, whom was decided to be wedded by their fathers, Shampoo, the Chinese Amazon that Ranma was able to defeat in combat, giving her the swoons for him. Kodachi Kuno, the Kuno family gymnast sister that gets captivated with Ranma to be her knight in shining armor when he saved her from falling off the roof of the Tendo dojo, but she doesn't realize it was only because he accidentally smacked her with the tea kettle. And my personal favorite and best girl, Ukyo, expert okonomiyaki chef. Their meetup story origins is hilarious. Basically, she met Ranma as a child and subsequently fought him every day. He'd receive free okonomiyaki every time he won. Despite their strong rivalry, they eventually got along and played well together. Ukyo's father suggested to Genma that they get them engaged, seeing that their children's friendship had blossomed. Genma agreed, only if Ukyo's father offered to throw in an okonomiyaki card as an endowment, but Genma forgot to take Ukyo with them and just simply took off. Ukyo decides to throw away her femininity so that she may train to become the greatest okonomiyaki chef in the world. Throughout the series, you will get to very much understand everyone's character traits, especially with an episode count of 143, alongside 2 full-length movies and 12 OVAs. The cast isn't very deep, but not everyone needs multiple complex layers, and that is fine. Rather, to boast this statement, everyone always acts in character. There isn't really any moments that makes you go, wait, why did this person say that? Or, that isn't like them at all. Why did they do that? So unbelievable. Now I really want to talk about the music in this show, mainly the openings. I may be a little biased, and maybe it's the nostalgia factor kicking in, but hey, the openings are all bangers and absolutely slap. There are a total of 7 main series openings. This is a timeless classic. The first few seconds of this song will be stuck in your head for sure, and this opening is really the only time you'll ever see Akane with long hair. Great opening that captures the essence of this show as a whole. The second opening is interesting in that it actually shows the manga panels in the beginning, the only one to do so. This opening also gives really good vibes. My favorite opening out of the bunch. The nostalgia in this one is so strong. Melodic and heartwarming is the best way to describe this one. This one is a fan favorite for sure, a big contrast from the previous slower openings. The animation is quite different as well. It strives away from the traditional animation and makes great use of the headshots with a constant backdrop. Love this one as well. Not as memorable for me as the others, but still a good opening nonetheless. Great melodic tune. It's mainly the animation used that I have a gripe with. A bit lazier in my opinion, and feels like a slideshow really. The bass player for sure is feeling himself. You hear those bass lines? Very catchy, especially with that guitar riff in the beginning. Odd visuals, however. I am not quite sure why they chose to pair Nabiki and Kodachi. The the most unique one in my opinion in terms of visuals. But this song is quite forgetful. With it being the very last OP, it's hard to really remember it because, well, with any long form of media, the longer the show goes on, well, the quality starts to drop. You know what is amazing and what is often not at all seen in today's shows? The respective voice actors and actresses actually all singing together, with the exception of Nido series of course, but I digress. As seen in the Ranma 1/2 OVA Christmas special, Tendo Family Christmas Scramble, not to be confused with another Christmas special from the main episode line, A Christmas Without Ranma, this is one of my favorite episodes of all time. It's meant to be viewed towards the end of the show, since nearly every character, including guest characters that have appeared in a couple episodes, are all together. Anyways, there is a special karaoke event in the later half that consists of Nabiki, Kasumi, Akane, Female Rama, and Shampoo, all singing the ED Equal Romance.
I don't want to feel this loneliness. I want you back in my arms. Darling, just for me, can't I wait for you? This is bigger than the both of us. Here's a love that's meant to be. It's in the stars above.
How amazing is that? This is a legendary moment and it occurs in both the Japanese and the English. I get teary-eyed every time the scene comes on, honestly. The OVAs are pretty special, but let's shift gears super quickly and talk about the change that everyone notices when it comes to Ranma himself specifically. Ranma's voice changes noticeably a quarter way into the show. It is a drastic change, and honestly, Ranma's whole personality feels like a big shift. You see, Ranma for the first 63 episodes is voiced by voice actress Sarah Strange.
Enough! You heard her, Shampoo! Leave me alone! I told you already, it's not like I asked her to come and sleep with me or nothing.
I guess you're pretty proud of yourself, huh? You're not helping. I wouldn't keep buttering her up so much if I was you, Ryoga.
And then later, shifts over to voice actor Richard Ian Cox between seasons 3 and 4, starting with episode 64, who also famously voiced Inuyasha.
Well, what do you know? It looks like there's nobody home. Like I'd really fall for that one. No problem. Lots more where that came from. Damn right you messed up. You messed up big time. But sword or no sword, you're wrong if you think I'm gonna let He-Ten get the better of me.
What's strange, no pun intended, is that the OVAs are meant to be watched at the end of the show, as they were produced following the ending of the main episodes. By that time, you'll have seen more episodes with Richard Ian Cox voicing Ranma, and you'll be used to his voice. However, going back to the OVAs, which I remind you takes place and was produced way after the main series, you will hear Sarah Strange again.
Hey, thanks a lot. I guess I got a little careless.
It is a bit weird and does take time to get used to going back and forth with his voice. I enjoy both voice actors. I think they both did an amazing job at nailing all of Ranma's personality, with Sarah's stoic charm giving Ranma a carefree and nonchalant attitude, to Richard's energetic and often at times annoyed at everything typified. It was kind of a breath of fresh air hearing the original voice for Ranma when watching the OVAs. There are 2 official movie releases for Ranma: Ranma 1/2 the movie, Big Trouble in Naganron, China, and Ranma 1/2 the movie 2, Ni Hao, My Concubine. These movies were fantastic and really changed up the formula. There are actual villains in this, and there's a good focus on action. Like with the show, the movies can be watched in any order. It doesn't matter. They are independent of one another. It's always fun when all the characters coming together in the most contrived way imaginable. And that is what you get with these movies. The whole cast together, personalities clashing. I won't spoil the movies, but I'll show you the ending themes at least. With the movies, you don't skip the credits. Instead, just sit back, relax, and dance to the beat of these ending bangers.
The rhythm.
Let's fast forward to 2008, 8 years after the last piece of Ranma media produced back in 1996. What is this? A new OVA for Ranma with updated visuals to match with the times? No freaking way. This final OVA was animated using digital ink and paint animation instead of cell animation from the original series. Look at the quality on this. It's a shame Ranma never got the proper treatment. I honestly think it could really work in the modern anime lineups. I mean, sure, Ranma is pretty risque and has a lot of fan service, but have you seen anime in the past 5 years or so, you cannot tell me a show like High School of the Dead or High School DxD or Kill la Kill can even come close to Ranma's fan service levels. Those shows' fan service levels is just off the radar. I mean, just look at stuff like this, or this, and even one of these. I honestly wish we could get a Ranma remake. The OVA proved that Ranma still looks phenomenal. A remake that doesn't deviate from the manga and follows the main story and has a proper ending. Lots of anime have gotten proper remakes. These remakes are a big upgrade in every department: visuals, sound, episode length, and of course the ending. Remakes are sure very risky, but generally the payoff is pretty well. For example, Fruits Basket is a prime example. The remake fleshed out its original counterpart heavily, so much that it was ranked #1 on my anime list for a bit, beating out Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, which evidently is also a remake. Regardless, I am still dreaming for the day. Let's talk about the fanbase. Ranma 1/2 is a show with a hardcore dedicated fanbase. It is great to occasionally see a Ranma reference somewhere when I am scrolling on the socials. Plenty of fan art exists, and people still to this day love the show. If you ever decide to look up Ranma on any social media website, you'll get tons of hits and plenty of Spanish YouTube comments. Ranma has a huge following in the Spanish community. The localization for it was a big deal, and it gained mainstream popularity. Think of it like how big TPZ got in North America. It's similar to that. The broadcast showed everything uncut and preservation of uncensored material. We had Saturday morning cartoons growing up. Latin America had Ranma 1/2 growing up. It really is a crime that this show didn't get the proper introduction and distribution in the United States. You'd have to be a real otaku to recognize Ranma in this day and age. I barely scratched the surface with this video. There is so much I didn't even talk about or go into further detail, like Moose's blindness, Ranma's cat form, Ryoga's breaking point technique, and his piglet form Pichon that he uses to his full advantage to get to Akane, Panda Genma's never-ending wooden signs, the Jusenkyo guide always popping in to describe the springs. The list just goes on, and I'll be here all day if I went over each one. It's been a pleasure talking everything Ranma. I hope I was able to educate you in some way or another, and please take the time to check out Ranma 1/2. I've been your host, RynTashi, and until next time, see ya.